Hey, fellow engineers, it's once again me, Mario. Today I want to quickly, or not too quickly, talk about a setup in Barrage and how you can read it, what you should watch for, how you should form your plans, what's your opening phase you should look like, and things like that. I think that studying the setup is very important in Barrage. I think it's very important in most Euro games, at least in the heavy ones and in the more strategic ones. And definitely Barrage is a very strategic game. So a lot of the time I see people, I wouldn't say really struggling, they just, force their way through the first round. They just take a move and then after the move they are going to watch what the other guys are gonna do and then take another move. Basically, they play a lot tactically, but I think that in Barrage you're poised to lose pretty much all the time if you don't have a strong strategic long-term plan. So, this is what we are going to do today. I chose a very, very weird setup. This is a setup in which I've done two things that I've basically never done. Or maybe I did this kind of things in my first few games, but never after that point. And still I won by a lot. So we're going to study the setup in general, and we're going to study this setup to see how I navigated through it and to see how you could have navigated through it. But just by looking at the options that players had in this setup. So first thing first, the most important thing to look for in a setup are the round bonuses, in my opinion. I think this is shared by a lot of the good Barrage players. Um, it's a little bit like in Terra Mystica, probably. I think it's the first thing you should look at the beginning of the game. So, in this game, for example, we have bases first, then elevations, then contracts, then external works, then powerhouses. Basically, the round setup is going to help you form a long-term plan. You need, in my opinion at least, you need to hit hard the last two bonuses unless you're so good that you're also able to hit all the bonuses in a game. At that point you can never ignore, but maybe hit a bit less the last bonuses. In my opinion, you're still bound to lose if you don't optimize the last two rounds, so that's what you should do each time that you can. The music ran off. Good. I think I have still a lot of problems with OBS at this point. But yeah, let's keep going. So, first thing first, round bonuses. I would just go quickly through everything you should look at, and then we are going to discuss in detail which ones are more important, which ones are less important, and how I navigated through this game. So, round bonuses. We saw them. Second thing I look at in most games are the tech tiles, the advanced tech tiles. They are very important. They can change the way you play a game, especially if you're in one of the first position. In this game, I happen to be the second player, so I can probably take a look at them and think about the plan that I can form around them. Some of them are good, some of them are not that good. I also made a video about advanced techs in general, so you might look at it. I think it's a rankings video. After the advanced tags, I always look at the external works if it's in a game that involves the expansion. External works are really, really, really good in most games. In these games, they are even more important, but we are going to look into that in a few minutes. So external works are probably the single most important things along with tech tiles after the run bonuses. So run bonuses over here, then tech tiles and X works over here, I would say. Then there are the pairings. Of course, the pairings are really important. And normally, like I'm talking about them now because I think they are not as important as the round bonuses. But they are definitely very important. And you actually have to make a choice before the game starts about them. Either you do an auction, or you just choose them in reverse turn order. Anyway, they are very important. Not only because of what you can do with them and which one is the strongest in a vacuum, but more importantly because they can give you an idea of how the board can develop. For example, if there is Adler in a game, probably you're going to see Dems over here. If there is Fizzler, you're pretty sure you're going to see one powerhouse popping up in the first round for sure from him. So all in all, they can help you have an idea of how the game can develop in general. After that, it's contracts. Contracts are not always important, but like in this game, they are incredibly important. You see, there are 4 free structures contracts out, which is, of course, incredibly good at the beginning of the game. So, and even later on, I would say. So, contracts are also an important thing to look at. We'll see how important they can be, but they can definitely be very, very, very important. So we'll see about that. After contracts, there are private buildings. Private buildings are not that important in most games. A lot of them are actually almost useless, I would say. But some of them are incredibly important, and one of them is in this game. Like, loan agency is very good, and in this game is once again even better because of this round scoring tile. So I normally look at private buildings just to see if there are 2 of them there. One is loan agency and the other one is robot factory. Robot factory can be very effective depending on, once again, the round bonuses and what you can do with it. But these 2 are what I think can be a very good choice on the first round if you can afford it. Because, for example, robot factory has some limitations because it costs 5 concrete mixers. Are they mixers? 5 grays. Yeah, concrete mixer, I think. The other ones are excavator. Yeah. And finally, the other thing that I normally look at is water and where water is. It's not that important. I normally take a quick glance at it at the beginning of the game. I look more closely into it once people have started taking moves and some bases are already down, and I can have a reasonable grasp of what is gonna happen in a certain round. So there's that. So first off, I'd say round bonuses. Here, what stands out is round 4 external works. External works can be an incredibly good round scoring if you prepare for it. It's not always easy to prepare for it, but 5 points per each is very good, and they normally are very good, at least the first few ones and some of the second tier. So if you can prepare for it, I would say that this should be your goal getting into this game. Sometimes you're like pushed out of it, and sometimes you can have like a high dam in the mountains, which is normally like the catch-all plan if you cannot follow the round bonuses properly and you just go for the national contracts. But I would say that this one is very important. On the 4th round, it means that it's also harder to recover. So if it's on the 5th round, sometimes you can like almost ignore a lot of the early X works if you cannot fit them in your plan. Maybe you take one of the early ones probably still because they're so good. But you can recover in the late game. You have 2 full rounds to spend the extra max that you've accumulated at that point and spend them in external works that are also going to give you direct points. So it can work in that way, but on the 4th round, I think it's more unforgiving. You should really focus on it. The 5th round is powerhouses. 5th round powerhouses, of course, is better with some nations than with other ones. I am USA, so it's not incredibly good with them, and it's not very good for the Netherlands, for example. It's very good for France and for Italy. But I would say that on the 5th round, unless it's contracts, you can most of the time catch up with it in some way. Like you can focus on the last 2 rounds to build these kind of structures and you can get away with it. Of course, it makes like this tile very important, Powerhouse 1, and all the Powerhouse tiles. I think their evaluation get up a notch if you have this last round bonus. The third one is contracts, and that's a very tricky round bonus. So the third one, in my opinion, is always probably the trickiest one. With the first round bonus, you can just have one thing that matters for it and produce 6 energy and you're happy with it. And on the second round, most of the time you can just get 2 of it and still get up to 6 energy. Sometimes you can get up to 12, but even if you only get up to 6, it's good. While on the third round, normally you need more investment and 6 energy will not make it anymore most of the time. So depending on what's on the third round bonus, you can either ignore it. I did it lot of time with contracts bonus, but also with other ones. You can either ignore it, especially if you produced a bit before that point, or you have to focus on it right at the start because it's so hard to get points out of it otherwise. So I would say that if I can position myself to get some external works and get a production going in the first 2 rounds, then I'm well positioned for the last 3 rounds. So you can already form a general plan. You see that early production is better than in most games. Going for a lot of structure is way worse than in other games. This is something that matters a lot in this setup. Normally, you always reach at least one, if not two, 7 points income in a game. I think it's very important in most games. But in this game, you can actually maybe get away with it. Spoiler alert, I did. Um, it's normally just good to get the 7 points income, but in this game you can actually ignore it because the last 3 round bonuses are so skewed towards productions and other stuff like external works. The first 2 round bonuses are alright-ish. It's normally not easy to get a base down on the first round if you're also producing to 6 energy unless you're Fizzler. But I mean, 1, 2, 3. There are 3 contracts, and 2 of them are feasible on the first round that will help you place down a dam. So I think this objective is actually pretty good if you start with production and if you can secure one of the free base contracts. Second round elevations is alright. Normally you can get up to 2 elevations on the second round without sweating too much, and at that point you have one that counts, and if you can reach 6 energy is good. So I would say that a good plan, and once again that's pretty much what I've done, is starting off with a production, try to secure one of these base contracts, produce to get the base, elevate it 2 times and produce again on the second round, and then get enough contracts that the third round will matter. And of course, all the while, just try to get external works. And by the end, you should be able to get up to 4 powerhouses. So this is how I approach, and that's why I said that the round bonuses are, in my opinion, the single most important stuff to look at the beginning of the game. Because if you can have a game plan that fills all the bullet points, then you're going to have a very good game. It's not always easy to follow it, of course, but if you can position yourself well, and we're going to talk about positioning yourself well in a few minutes too, then you're good to go. Then we are going to talk about available tech tiles. Once again, this one is going to be good in this game just because there is a 5th round scoring for powerhouses, and it's just a good tile in general. The other 2 are pretty much garbage, so I don't expect... So I expect the first player to do one move. I'm going to talk about it soon enough, but another good move could be to take this tile. The other 2 tiles are actually not that great. This one will help you get down bases, but it's pretty bad at that, especially if there is no Adler in the game, and there is no Adler in the game. I think Adler is the one that can get this one and actually use it properly. Sometimes Fizzler can do so, but no, they're not in this game, so these 2 tiles are pretty bad in general. External works are always good. This one is probably the best external work on the first round. A very strong action could be to take this tile and get the powerhouse 1 tile. Basically, this tile will convert 2 browns into 9 coins, and that's a fucking good conversion if you can build up a good economy off of it. This one is very good, and normally it favors the player who starts building first. A lot of the time your first round will involve something like conduit, powerhouse, and then needing to spin, or something like base elevation and then like level 1 conduit or something. So if you can spare 1 grade, this is very good. Normally there is a bit of a run to it depending on who's the one that has built 3 structures first. But actually 1 gray starts to be a decent cost. So depending on how you're setting up your economy, like if you're Italy and set up for 2 conduits, then it's pretty good. Same can be said for France if they can have 2 bases. And same can be said with USA if they can go reasonably fast to the second elevation. Well, it depends a lot. This one is a tricky one, by the way. This one is, of course, very good if you've already built 1 powerhouse. It will let you build a second one in the in the first round for ease. You can also take this one and then build the powerhouse. Of course, at that point you will not have a spare gray to also get this one. But this one can be good, and as we are going to see, this has a big role in my game. So this can also be good. But I think that all the level 1 external works are very, very, very good, regardless. So there's that. After contracts, that's private buildings, and once again, this one is actually a good one, but not at the beginning of the game. The investment in mechs is too heavy, but it's very good later on, and it can help you surprise other people by taking national contracts. This one is just garbage most of the time. It's once again too costly. Sometimes people build it because it's 4 points if they get the level 2 private building tech tile, which will let you build it for 1 gray. This one is bonkers, and in this game, I mean, it's not bonkers. This one is good. In this game is just incredibly good because of this one. This one will tell you save coins, and you will be able to do all the other structure thanks to your mechs, and also afford the big economic advantage of the external works. Also keep in mind that all the level 1 external works other than the base one are going to reward you in coins. So basically this one is free for you because you pay for coins and get 4 coins back. So basically for one guy you get a tech tile for free provided you have this building, and this is just insane. Even more so with this scoring tile in the game, of course. So this is a very good building, and my plan was to build it. This one is just garbage once again. One player will build it in this game, and probably in this game it was at its best because there are the 2 out of the 3 contracts that cost 5 energy or less that will give you a free structure. The other one will give you for 4 energy a level 2 conduit. So with these 2 in the game, as we're going to see, the player who's going to build this one will first action takes these 2. And it's actually a reasonable choice in this game. It's still something that I don't like because it will lock 8 of your mechs on the first slice of the of your pie, of your wheel. And then you can only build 1 structure after that. So there's that. This one is an interesting one. And once again, in the late game, is normally very good with wildcard tiles and sometimes with other kind of tiles. Sometimes you cannot afford the loss of tempo of building it though. It can be decent actually, but this one is bonkers. So, and there's water over here. I think that this makes this basin way better than it normally is. There is no water blocked over here. Oh, one thing I didn't talk about. It's also important to take a look at the neutral dams. The mountain one almost never matters. Sometimes it matters if it's over here. Because if it's over here and the other neutral is over here, you can get a powerhouse here and get both conduits. And sometimes it can be worth it. No, I wouldn't say a lot of the time, but sometimes it's worth it. Fizzler is not in the game, but if Fizzler is in the game, you should always look if there is a low conduit available. Like in this game, there is this one, and there's also this one. So it would have been good for Fizzler. It's also good for an early production. Sometimes you can start with the neutral base here and another one here. And at the point, it's not as good to be Fizzler. The only low-level conduit you have is this one, and that's not ideal, in my opinion. So you should also look at the neutral dams. Right now, I think that my favorite spot to produce is probably down here, just because nobody else can place a powerhouse here, but over here can work too. And down here, you should have a pretty strong reason to do that. I wouldn't say you should go for it. All right, so after taking a look at this whole setup, I think it was pretty clear to me that the first player will either take this one for Powerhouse 1 or more probably build Lone Agency. And what the first player did was build Lone Agency. Now, I am Mahiri Sekibo, and she can do a lot of crazy stuff. One of the things that she can do in this game is she can copy Batista to take double action. She can also copy Solomon, but let's not joke about this. Solomon is just pretty bad in general, and Del Monte is actually pretty good if it's your operative. I don't think it's very good to copy him um, with her, because sometimes it's very good with Del Monte to end the round and have water flow into your dam, and you cannot copy him to do that. So, or you cannot easily get 4 drops into your dam that way. So there's that. So the only guy I can copy reasonably well is Batista, and even that move is very costly. Like, using one engineer to copy Batista is definitely very costly. But I actually, spoiler alert, ended up copying him, I think, 3 times in the game, which is definitely a lot. Definitely a lot. But it was worth it. And so, um, probably before talking about the game itself, I should still focus a bit on the setup. One other thing that is going to be important for my plan if I want to build this one, and I want to build this one, is that I need a way to secure a lot of coins. Now, that's not easy to do when you're USA. You either rush bases, but in this game there are not many incentives to rush bases, and it works in some game. I think it works in actually way more games than other players think. But in this game, I don't see a way to both fit in uh, a base rush strat while also doing everything else that I want to do, like produce early on to get enough contracts for this one, while also getting external works. I think there are too many things that have to fit to get a proper base rush. So I wouldn't count on my 4th base income. And USA doesn't have any innate way to get coins in the first column. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. Fortunately, I am Mahiri Sekibo, which starts with 9 coins, which is actually very good, once again, to spend them here. And also, I really want to get out of my hand to secure level 1 external works. I ended up with 3 of them, which is definitely way, way, way above average in the first 2 rounds. And I did so even sacrificing max because I really needed coins. So I also focused on some contracts giving me coins. I always placed my base in the non-red spots. That's tricky most of the time, but it can work with USA if you can get up to 4 elevations because you get free water. And sometimes if you go in the hills early, thanks to this contract, for example, you can get enough water to get your gears running without fighting too much with other players building above you. So, all in all, I am going to focus a lot on saving coins. Now, the first action for my opponent, as I told you, was to build the loan agency. I'm not going to run through the whole round, but I'm just going to um, show you what was my thought process out of this setup and out of the early stages of this round. So green built loan agency. Once again, that's a good move. It was expected. Now, what are my options? Once again, I can take this one and immediately take this tile. And that will be good, actually. There is one problem with this strategy is that I lose some tempo. I expect the other players to also look at the contract bonus. Also, my opponents are not, as you can see, they are, other than this player, they are not really experienced. So I expect them to go for production more than they should. So I actually want to make a claim in this game. I want to say, guys, I'm going to produce. If you want to fight me, all right, you can, but I'm the first one that is investing into it, so I'm not pivoting. This is sometimes good. It can be seen the same in poker, in Texas Hold'em poker, when you make a big bet. Like, you're making a big bet. Let's not be technical here. You just make a big bet and you want to scare other players off of like following you. If they follow you, they will know that you can keep on going because you already invested into it. I mean, it doesn't work exactly like that in poker, but it works here. So I want to make a big claim, and taking this tile, and mind you, my plan is still to build this one if I take this tile. I'm kind of afraid that if I take this one and go for this one, then build a powerhouse, then build a conduit, then try to build this one, and I have to get a gray to do that. I think I'm going to slow myself down too much, and I will give green player a big advantage in choosing one of these, and he will probably choose this one. So, even though it seems like a very good first move, I chose to do a different plan. I chose to copy. Um, I actually chose to go for loan agency. And if I go for loan agency, you see, I go for loan agency, then I wait a turn, and for sure, green, I mean, if I was him, green would activate loan agency and take one of these. So I will be bound to take a 2 engineer action to get an external work. But if I have any way to use 2 engineers to take an external work, I very much prefer to copy Batista with 1 engineer, build with the architect the loan agency, and immediately activate it. I'm basically still using 2 engineers to activate it because one was used to copy Batista, but I will not give much of an advantage to Italy because he will have to give up 2 engineers to use the loan agency, and I can steal tempo from the other guy. So my plan was still in part to take this one and get this one. But again, it seemed like a slow plan to me. I could take this one, but at that point, I need to buy a gray to build a powerhouse. So I'm basically using my first turn doing 2 actions, which are loan agency and get the powerhouse tile, thanks to the external work. Then I'm going to buy a gray, and then I'm building a powerhouse. That's very slow. And once again, I want to claim the production here. So I actually ended up with this very weird move of copying Batista, building up loan agency, taking this external work instead, and placing my powerhouse down there. That was a very aggressive first move, I would say. I spent 3 engineers on that, and I claimed the external work that not sure it's the best one over here. Normally this one is way better, and the powerhouse 1 tile is very good here. But I still wanted to go heavy on production, so I chose to go for it. And it didn't happen what I what I was hoping for. So the other players still went for powerhouses. Once again, I'm not going to show you the whole round, but the other players also went for powerhouses and also get the good contracts. So what I ended up doing was actually still something good. Once again, I'm not showing you the whole round. I just got one more drop down here. I got the level 2 conduit. So I built only twice. No, I built thrice in this round, yeah. Because the structure was free. So twice on the board, but 3 times. 3 structure over here. I was able to get this contract. And I had to take a +2 production paying for it, which was painful because once again, my plan was to save up coins. But that let me place a base down here in this basin, which is normally a very good one. I was able to get 1 drop. And on the subsequent round, I was also able to elevate it, get an external work for 6 energy and fulfilling a contract. And anyway, I kept going. I kept reducing from this one and this one a bit, and it worked out really well. And by the end of the game, I ended up with very few structures, which is very, very weird for me. So all in all, I hope this video will help you navigate through, in this case, a very weird setup, but I hope it will help you navigate through more, let's say, average setups. If you're interested into this kind of content, just please let me know in the comments, this time for real and not just asking for YouTube algorithm or anything. I really want to know if you like it because I have other very interesting starting setups I can talk about. And I like talking about starting setups because I like talking about the overall strategy in Barrage games. It's actually the part that I like the most. Normally on the first round I take, I'm very quick during the game normally. I take a move in like 5 minutes when I have time in the day. But at the start of the game, normally I take something like 10 or 15 minutes even to uh, plan partially the first round or plan A, B, and C of the first round, and then have a good plan for the overall game. And in this game, it happened, and it was pretty cool. So things that I've never done in other games in Barrage in ages, at least, was producing +2 with 3 guys and 3 coins on the first round. I think this is a very bad action. You shouldn't take it pretty much ever, but in this game, it was worth it because of this contract. It gave me 4 more points. It gave me a good head start in the next round. With 1 drop already, I was able to produce, gain from a contract that was here to Browns and get the level 4 conduit. So all in all, it ended up working very well. But it's something that I wouldn't advise you to do. And the other thing that I did was I stopped at, I think, 2 bases and 4 elevations, maybe even 3 elevations by the end, and 2 or 3 conduits, all powerhouses. This is definitely, once again, not a good advice to follow. Normally, you really want to finish at least one of the bases, elevations, slash conduits lines because it gives you so many points. But in this game, it's more worth it. I was able to end up the game with 9 external works, which is, of course, a lot. So, once again, if you like the content, let me know in the comments and let me know if you want more setup analysis. And till next time, see you. Myers out. Bye bye.